We are alive. Hello. Good evening. It is probably 6:30ish. Yeah, 6:30ish. And we're headed to the gym. Finally. I got a little bit of a late start today. I'm trying not to rush my body in terms of waking up, especially after that weird, sickness or whatever I had last week. So I'm just letting it do its thing and recover, and in my head, letting myself sleep as long as I can. As long as my body wants to, then why not? I am afforded that privilege right now, right? So why not take advantage of it? Long, complicated way of saying I slept in till 8:30, 9. And then after that, class and I recorded a podcast, and then I've been editing and creating and so on and so forth since. Handled some client check-ins, which is great, and we ball. We are headed to East Coast Muscle for some hamstring, glutes, and calves, otherwise known as the hot girl workout. So I'm excited for that. I was in this weird in-between where it was time to eat, and I didn't know if I wanted to do my pre-workout meal, if I wanted to hit the gym now or wait until later, because in my head I wanted to go later, but then I started thinking about it and I was like, damn, if I eat now, I'm gonna have to wait at least 2 hours before I eat again, and then by that time it's gonna be closer to 8, and then I'm gonna have to muster up the energy to go do legs, and I'd rather get out of the way. So that's what we're doing. Right now I have 1 day a week where I don't do cardio, so today will be that day, and then we are back on the wagon tomorrow. I'm excited. I feel good. New low weight this morning, 216 on the dot, so that was cool. I saw 215 for a second, and then it bumped up to 216, so no worries there. A little bit of update on the cut. So the first time when I started working with Blake, my coach, I was already kind of cutting, and then I told him hey, let's just continue this, get peeled, and then head into a growth season. And he was on board, and we stripped down to about 207. I believe my lowest weigh-in was 206, and that's the lightest I've been probably since I was 18. And I felt lean. I felt like garbage though, and mentally I was going through the breakup and all of these things regarding should I move, should I not. There was a bunch of shit going on, and stressed out at work, all the things. And so I actually started binging very consistently. I would say at least once a week. And then you can't cut when you're binging a dozen to 2 dozen donuts on top of other shit at least once a week. And so I held true to 206, 207 for a while. I would bump up to 210, 211, and then go back down. And just like I said, mentally I wasn't with it. And so right now it's so weird because I'm way more locked in this time. I've had one binge since I moved out here, and it's the weight has been sticky. I have not been. I started my peak of the growing season, and this is after a free meal and all that, was 235. So I was 235. Although realistically, I was probably closer to 230 on average. So I'm down, 14 pounds, which I guess is better than I thought overall. But yeah, and I still feel like I'm holding on to some size, and I'm definitely getting leaner. And I made a post about this the other day, but I am just taking a lot of, I think part of why oh my God, this guy just fell on his motorcycle, but he's okay. He that sounds bad. He didn't get in a crash. I would have stopped. he was waiting to turn left, and then he just lost his balance and fell, but he landed on his feet. Like, he was able to catch himself. The bike fell though, but he's got it. He's going. Whew. All right. That was sketch. I hope he's okay. Anyways, yeah. So, with this cut, I've been emotionally taking my emotions out of it and emotionally detaching, because what happened last time is I was like, oh, I'm still fat. I'm 207. I'm still fat. And then now I look at those pictures and I was like, oh my God, like I was very lean, and I hold fat, like the stubborn fat in my abdomen. And so because I didn't actually shredded abs, I was like, oh, I'm still like a fat piece of shit. That's what I would call it. I'd be like Vader, big fat piece of shit. That's what I would be thinking about. But it was like, that's legitimately what I was thinking about myself. And then now I look at it and I was like, I had veins on my lats, and my quads and calves look like a fucking road map. And I'd never been that lean before in my life. And there I was telling myself I was a fat piece of shit and eating, 2 dozen donuts a week. And it was just like so unhealthy mentally. And so now I'm a little more, emotionally detached and just treating these weigh-ins and everything as data, which has been a lot better for my mental. And it's been more steady, but at the same time, kind of the point of where I was going with this is my weight's just sticking. It took me a long time to break under 220, way longer than it did last time. And then I've just kind of been hovering around this 216 to 219 range for the past 2 weeks. And, we'll probably cut my food again, and then we'll, go down a little bit more. But it is just, it's tough. And like my energy expenditure is a little bit lower, right? Because I'm not working full time as a surgical assist and on my feet all day and all the things. So and that's saying, like, that's just the reality of it. Not every cut is going to be the same. Sometimes it's a little more stubborn, and sometimes the weight melts off you. But emotionally detaching has helped me tremendously just maintain, a good headspace. And like I'd be curious. I don't want to do it because I don't want to look at where my headspace was during that time. But if you were to compare my check-in emails to Blake from now compared to back then, it would probably be night and day regarding my mental health and who I am, like, how I feel. So that's something I'm very proud of, because there were some rough check-ins where I was just like basically telling him, like, hey man, like, I'm just kind of surviving here, so let's get the job done, and I'm just gonna keep pushing forward. And Blake's awesome. He was right there beside me the whole time. Like I said, I am very blessed to be surrounded with who I am, and a lot of that is, who I choose to be in my life, and also just I wouldn't have had the choice to choose them if they didn't appear in my life somehow, or I wasn't led to them some way, right? So yeah, surround yourself with good people in all aspects, in my opinion. So that's a little cut update, and yeah, I don't think there's anything else, right? Like, yeah, I feel good. So if you are, cutting or bulking or what have you, then just try to take the emotion out of it a little bit. And I don't mean do everything like a zombie. I mean, just because your weight went up doesn't mean you have to be sad about it. It can just say, oh, my weight went up. Let's look at all the factors and see if we can diagnose why that happened, and then just fix it. And I know that sounds so simple, and probably some of you who don't have the same problems that I do in terms of emotionally attaching to everything that you do, it's probably like, well, yeah, that's how that works. So yeah, I know that, but it's a lot harder when your brain and your brain assigns emotion to everything, and you just by default attach your emotional well-being to things that you care about, like bodybuilding. I like bodybuilding. I care about it. So of course I'm going to invest emotion into it, but it's like, well, let's invest emotion into the right things, right? Like I can invest my emotion into this training session. So instead of having that anger or sadness about myself in the weigh-in and letting that dictate how I go about my day, it's okay, let me, kind of take note that I'm feeling that way. And then later on in the session, it's like, hey, you're going to bitch out on this set. Like, remember how you felt earlier. Remember how you felt on that scale. Now channel that energy. This is where you need to channel that. Oh, you have 5 more minutes on the stairs, but your legs can't go anymore. Remember how you felt on that scale. Remember how you felt. And just use it to go, okay, this is what I have to do in order to not feel that way again. And then you can take pride in the fact that you didn't give up when there was 5 minutes left, or you pushed through that set. And even though you lost weight, you grinded out another rep, 1 rep more than you did last week at that weight, right? Like, there are so many things that you can do in order to channel that emotion without derailing everything. And that's a skill, I believe, and a skill that I'm working on honing and getting together. And it's funny because I tell my clients that, right? But I was kind of a hypocrite in terms of I would let my emotion derail where I was going. And that's that's a weakness of mine, and I understand that, and I'm self-aware of that, and I'm working to fix it. Remember, that's just who I am does not exist in our vocabulary. You can always change, and you can always be better. So, fuck that. You do not have to be that way, and you can make the proper changes in order to do so, and that's what I'm doing. All that being said, let's go get a hot girl workout in. Okay. Oh. Okay, we are done. That was freaking sick. Sorry, I'm looking for my pineapple. I start this Hannaford's right next to this gym actually stocks like pre-made fresh pineapple that's pretty much exactly the weight that I need post-workout. So that's been like my treat after my workouts is this pineapple. So I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna eat it on my way back home while I talk to you. Yeah, great workout. That was actually the best workout I've had in a while. And a couple weeks ago, I messed up my back. And long story short, whoa. Oh, that's so good. I love pineapple. Long story short, I herniated a disc a couple years ago. It was actually, I passed a tryout at the Arizona Pro Wrestling Training Center, and the week after, herniated a disc. And at the Arizona PWTC, you have to do 6 weeks on the outside, like boot camp style, CrossFit style workouts before you can even touch the ring. And I didn't want to tell them that I was hurt, so I went to the clinic and they were like, yeah, your disc isn't in good shape, we're gonna have to recover and you can do this rehab program. Well, I didn't have insurance, and they were like, it's gonna be $3,500, which I did not have. So I said, oh, okay, great, sounds good, I'll think about it. And then I threw away the papers as soon as I left and got a back brace. And I did the 6 weeks in the back brace. And not ever since then, because obviously that would be ridiculous. But sometimes it flares up, and I'd be very careful. Or I'd be careful. I'm very careful when it does flare up. And about 2 weeks ago, I pushed myself on deadlifts, which aggravated it. And so I've been very careful for the past couple weeks. I've been avoiding like RDLs and deadlifts and anything that'll put my lower back at risk. But today I was feeling good. So we loaded up 315 on the bar, RDL'd their little hearts out, and had some fun. But oh my God, a silver lining in the injury is it makes me be very cautious of how I'm engaging my hamstrings and my glutes so that my lower back doesn't take over. Obviously, I'm not perfect, so it does happen sometimes, but today, man, I was feeling good. I would normally have hip thrust, but the hip thrust machine there isn't my favorite. It's not like a belt, it's like a pad that you put down across your like abdomen area and your hips, and it's brutal and it really digs into you. And this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I drank a lot of water today, and the thought of all of that weight plus that really stiff pad digging into my gut and bladder made me feel like I would just piss my pants. So no hip thrust today, but I did do some glute work, and I would say I was double cheeked up on a Friday night because shit was pumped. But yeah, great workout. You gotta appreciate the good when you have them, because especially when you're a wrestler, we spend so much of our time beat up, really. Like, and I used to tell the kids this when I would coach at the wrestling school, is like, John Moxley has a quote where he was being interviewed about, and he was asked, like, well, it's one thing you would say to your an aspiring wrestler, and he was like, be prepared to every day wake up in pain. And I don't think it sounds dramatic, right? But he's not wrong, obviously, because he's John Moxley and he's very experienced. But also, what we do is high impact. It's high impact, though it's a lot of volume. I understand, like, companies are shifting more towards a lighter schedule, but most of the time you are, especially if you're on the indies and like trying to grind it out, which right now I'm not. I've prioritized building my business a little bit so that next year I can really make towns and grind it out and not have to worry so much about finances. But when you are wrestling 4 or 5 times a week, it's brutal and it takes a toll on your body, and sure enough, you are always in pain. And if you're training wrestling, you're in the gym every day, you're doing cardio, sometimes you're eating a lot, you're in a surplus, but sometimes, like right now, I'm in a deficit, so you are just kind of beat up. And I remember potentially inappropriate story, but I would say, a couple months ago, I was hanging out with a friend, and I stood up and I walked over to the bathroom, and she was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, are you okay? Like, did you get hurt? And I was just like, what are you like, what? And she goes, how, like, why are you walking like that? And I was like, oh no, that's just how I walk. We've been, sitting down for a while, and my body locks up, and so if I stand up, this is how I move. It was just funny, like sometimes you forget the normal person isn't in perpetual pain. And if you're a wrestler, it's not poor me, woe is me, we chose this, right? It's just a consequence of our choice. I guess it is a negative, but I don't see it as like we're victims of it. It's just a negative consequence of our choice to pursue this, and that's okay. But yeah, work around your injuries as much as you can. If you're injured, stay out. If you're hurt, tough it out. Keep pushing. That's my opinion. I know it's not the healthiest, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Professional wrestling is not a healthy profession to pursue. It's there's a lot of negative health effects, and that is the trade-off. And if you're not okay with that, that's okay. Just don't pursue this. You can't have both. You can't pursue professional wrestling and live a perfectly healthy life. It's just not possible. You can try to mitigate the negative as much as you can, and you can put a lot of effort into living the healthiest. That's absolutely possible. Like, I take a lot of pride in, staying healthy enough to work and working around my injuries and being smart with my training, and how I execute reps, and how, especially with my coach now, like, we're very smart with how to approach training. And my wrestling clients, I make sure that their longevity and their joint health and all of that is priority, because, like I said, it's high impact. You got to make sure your body can withstand it. And in case anything goes wrong, there's so many different ranges of motion that you're in a wrestling match, and potential for over exerting in one direction or the other, that you need to be prepared for that. So, training with full range and sometimes extra range of motion under heavy load is super important to keeping yourself prepared for the extreme physical aspect of professional wrestling. Kind of a weird, not a weird rant, I didn't expect to talk about that. But nonetheless, hot girl workout is done. Pineapple is being consumed. Post-workout meal at the house. Benjamin Franklin calling my name. Welcome to Dairy queued up. It's gonna be a great day. Well, it was a great day. It's gonna be a great night. So I'm gonna go do that and relax. And I hope you guys have a great night as well. Maybe treat yourself. Watch something that you've been wanting to watch. Watch Welcome to Derry on HBO. It's awesome, especially if you're a horror movie fan. I love it. If you're an It fan in general, it's great. Or, if that's not your style, like if you're more like Class, watch a documentary on bears, buffalo. Oh. Watch a wrestling match. Watch whatever you want. Have a great night, guys.